I've been talking about this video for a while, and y'all, it is finally here. We're going to talk about the progressive web app for Google Stadia, and specifically, we're going to talk about how that works on iOS. If you don't know me, my name is Matt Horton. On YouTube, I talk about tech and gaming and the culture and policy around those things. I actually have several videos on this channel about why Google had to use a progressive web app instead of a native application to get Stadia games on the iPhone. That's the kind of things we talk about here, so stick around and we'll talk about how that progressive web app works. Now, I know there's been news about Google Stadia in the last few days, and I'm sure that we'll talk about that in a different context, but right now, I just want to link out to a video that Brendan Bigley made. He's got a series called Good Morning Video Games, and he talked a lot about that news and what it could mean for Google Stadia. So I'm just going to link to that video in the description. Y'all should go check that out if that news interests you at all. So what do I mean by progressive web app? Well, you see this icon here on my iPad home screen that says Stadia, right next to the one that says Luna. That is not actually a native app. I did not download it from the App Store. So how did I get it? Well, let's open up Safari. Let's go to stadia.google.com. I can actually just scroll around this interface and play these games. I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to hit the share button and I'm going to hit add to home screen. And that is going to create a bookmark. Now, I'm not going to do this right now. I've already done this, but that is how you would do this, and it would create this icon. And when you tap here on the Stadia bookmark, it opens up in a browser window, but it looks just like an app. It kind of removes the address bar and everything from the browser, but you're still looking at a browser. It just functions like an app. And this is how you play Stadia games on the iPad and the iPhone, and it works very well. You can connect your Stadia controller using this web app just like you would on Chrome on your desktop or any other version of Stadia on any other platform. You just tap on the controller in the main interface and enter the commands on a Stadia controller that you've turned on. Now, you can play these games in your browser without adding this to your home screen. When you launch these games, the only thing that will happen is that you will see this X in the top left corner. I don't love this, so I ended up not doing it this way. I preferred to add it to the home screen and launch it from the bookmark. Now, even if you do launch it from the bookmark, there are a couple interface elements, at least on iPad, that you can't hide. On iPad, you cannot hide the top status bar, and occasionally it goes away, but most times you cannot hide the bottom home indicator. That's that kind of long pill thing that replaced the home button when the home buttons went away. When I played on iPhone, the home indicator stayed there as well, but I didn't get the top status bar. So how's the interface? Well, it's mostly good. You really should be using your fingers to navigate this interface, and when you do that, it is super flawless. I found no issues when I was navigating this as if it were a native application, something I would use on my iPad or my iPhone that I downloaded from the App Store. It does feel like a web app, and that's fine, it is a web app, but the Luna application really felt native in a way that web apps just don't usually feel. That said, you do have a Stadia controller there, and if it's connected to the session, I would expect that to work. And it does, kind of, on the home screen sometimes, but it doesn't work consistently. I did use a Bluetooth controller as well, and it worked just about as well as the Stadia controller did on that screen, which is inconsistently. I wouldn't trust it in either case. I would use the touchscreen when you're going to interface with this part of the application. Really only use your controllers when you're actually playing the games. Now, I have had some Stadia reliability issues on this channel before in a previous video, and actually I'm going to follow up on those specific issues, the ones that I had on desktop in a browser, at the end of this video. So if you watch that video and you're interested in that, stick around later. But I want to talk about specifically playing on your iPad and your iPhone over Wi-Fi right now. I did have some Wi-Fi issues, and those issues made it unusable in a very specific case. Here is my situation. I have gigabit internet from Xfinity. That situation, because it is not fiber, that is gigabit down, about 1,000 down, and only about 40 up. That is not the best internet, but it's the best we got here. But my Wi-Fi environment is not great. And what had happened is my Wi-Fi environment had really degraded, and I needed to reset my router. So I played on my iPhone without resetting my router for a little bit, and this is what you're seeing right now. Then I reset my router, I played on my iPad, did another speed test, and that went flawlessly. I tried to get on my iPhone later and I got this same flawless quality. So if you're having issues, try resetting your router or check out your Wi-Fi environment. It may just be that your Wi-Fi shot. It may not even be your connection. That said, I do notice that Stadia does get a little bit choppy if almost anything else is happening on the network. I'm talking if my husband's playing any other kind of game, or if there's something streaming on the television, any kind of anything happening on the network, I do notice the quality degradation. It's not as bad as when the Wi-Fi environment was really terrible, but I do notice the quality get a little bit worse. Now let's talk about controllers, because I've got a Stadia controller here, and I also have my trusty Xbox One controller. I actually got rid of the Google Stadia controller that I got from that YouTube Premium promo that they did a while back, because I personally was not intending to keep on using Google Stadia. I actually said that at the end of that video. However, I wanted to make this video for y'all, so I ended up purchasing this controller so that I can make this video for you all. And here's what I'll say. The Stadia controller works great, works exactly as you would expect. It eliminates almost all of the lag. Even in that weird Wi-Fi environment that I had where the video was really laggy, none of the controls were lagging at all. I could keep on moving even if the video didn't update. That said, the Xbox controller, the extra lag from that controller is almost negligible. I really don't think it is worth your money to buy the Google Stadia controller. For most people, you're just not gonna notice the difference. I understand that there are other benefits of having that controller, but for most of you, you're probably just not gonna notice those benefits. I know that you can buy the Google Stadia controller from Google for about $70, but in most cases, you're gonna find that paired with a Chromecast Ultra for about $100 in the Premier Edition kit. If that's worth it for you, that's great. Personally, my recommendation is just to use a Bluetooth controller of your choice. However, if you think that you're going to be playing on a Chromecast, pick up that Premier Edition kit. It might be worth your money. All in all, I am still excited about the prospect of playing AAA games on my iPad and my iPhone. I don't think that Google Stadia, however, is the service for me. I am personally really excited for Microsoft to get their progressive web app for Game Pass out so that I can play those games on my iPad. I am already playing those games on my Xbox, and to be able to play those on my iPad, move them around my house since I'm not really going anywhere else right now, that would just be really nice. What about you? Do you think that you'll be playing Google Stadia on your iPhone or your iPad? Do you think you'll be picking up a Google Stadia controller, or are you just going to use a Bluetooth controller? Why don't you tell me in the comments what games you are playing right now and on what system or what service you are playing them on? I would love to hear from you. If you liked this video, please like it on YouTube. That helps it reach so many more people, and it really helps grow this channel. Also, if you want to see me and you want to see my future videos, please do subscribe. I would love to have you. I will see y'all next time. All right, so a follow-up on the issues that I had playing Google Stadia on Chrome on my desktop. My best guess as to what was causing these issues is that something like Dropbox or iCloud Drive was running in the background when it shouldn't have been. Now, when I do these videos, I usually have Dropbox paused. I try to quit anything that's running networked in the background just so that there's, nothing running. I usually even have Task Manager up with it sorted by network to make sure that, I can check these things and double and triple check. And I did a bunch of troubleshooting just to make sure that there was, nothing happening. But that is my best guess, because I did try again and was able to get it working just fine after a while, and then was able to basically reliably get it to not work when Dropbox was running, or when I had something syncing in iCloud Drive. So that's my best guess. From what I remember from when I made that video, neither of those things were running. I know a lot of people in the comments in that last video were saying, well, that gigabit speed doesn't mean anything if this, and it doesn't mean anything if that. Yes, I know all those things. I had done a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of checking before I made that video, but I just couldn't isolate the problem. I did check a bunch of firewall settings, and nothing that I found seems like it could have been the culprit. I had even checked the Dropbox and iCloud Drive thing, but it's my best guess at this point, considering I was able to at least replicate the issue, even though I had checked to see that that was the problem before. And also, I do notice that Stadia is really finicky if anything else is happening on the network. And sometimes our Apple TVs will just continue playing something in the background even when the TV is off. So that may have been what was happening. We may have just accidentally left something playing on the Apple TV for a couple of days and didn't even notice it. And then when it got turned off, Google Stadia was running fine on my PC again. A lot of people were telling me to check my Wi-Fi environment, and I'm like, this is on my desktop PC plugged directly into my router, which is plugged directly into the internet. Like, there was almost nothing it could have been, and that's why I think it was the Dropbox issue or potentially something else on the network that was doing something resource intensive. It really can only be one of those two things.